Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Real Estate, where we look to chokeslam all your real estate problems. I'm your host, former WWE wrestler and your surface lake performer, and of course, multifamily real estate investor, Barri Griffiths. Now today we're joined by Joe Marques. Hey Joe, how you doing, man?
Doing well, Barry. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm doing fantastic. We were talking a bit before off air, and it's going to be a great conversation. So really excited to dive into so much interesting stuff that you have going on. But before we do that, you want to kind of give us a quick intro into who you are and what you've been up to?
Well, most people call me Cowboy Joe. I'm still trying to figure out why. I don't know if it's the boots, the hat, or the fact I was raised on a ranch. And I've been in real estate for probably a little over 30 years now. Had a foray into government contracting. That's actually where I made most of my money the first time around, and then carried that over into development. And then basically just long winding road to where we are now.
And then, so just to give people an idea, where are you now? What do you have sort of, just on a high level, and we'll dive into a lot more of it then, but on a high level, what do you have going on right now? What kind of portfolio, what kind of stuff do you work on now?
All right. Well, currently I'm in Gulf Shores, Alabama, and that's where was born in Gulf Shores. I was raised in Livingston, Alabama, about 3 hours north of here. So I am an Alabamian, and I do not talk funny. The rest of y'all talk funny. And if you think this is an accent, you should have heard me before I started traveling. Dog used to be a 3-syllable word. Currently, with partners and all, we have about $2.5 million in commercial real estate holdings. We have another $1.5 million in residential real estate holdings. And then we have about $6.4 million in development projects in various stages at this point in time. I also have 5 high-end clients with projects ranging from $1.2 million to almost $200 million worth of development projects scattered across the country, from California to South Carolina, from Montana to Texas.
Very cool. You got a few things going on there. Bit busy guy, no doubt. But you say you started real estate 30 years ago. So what is 30 years ago? 1980, right? Think first. No, 1990. Wow. Shows
Yeah,
you in
right
my
at
right.
1990.
Yeah. So what was the real estate landscape like in 1990? Like maybe compare it to where we are today.
But it was actually similar to what it was today from a standpoint of being really hot. I started learning under somebody that probably very few people this day and time remember. He passed a couple of years back. His name was Charles J. Givens. And he was the whole subject to and created financing and had fix and flip. That's primarily what I started in, was fix and flip. Buy a house and use creative financing, owner financing, subject to existing mortgages, or just straight out buying it using my own credit, my own financing to do the job, and then finish out the house and sell it. And things were moving really well on that. I ended up with a side trip into government contracting by accident. A friend of mine asked me if I could bring some equipment to a storm right after a hurricane in North Carolina. And I did. We made pretty good money. And I well, let me look at this government contracting a little bit closer. Stayed in it for, 11 years. And that's where I made the bulk of my money, but I still did real estate on the side, had crews working, doing fix and flips, had a couple of rentals, things like that. You know, the standard 3 T's, toilets, tenants, and trash, and dealing with all of that. And I really got away from that. And now the real estate portfolios that we own is strictly property managers. I don't deal with that anymore. Made a lot of money in government contracting, swapped over to developments because we were doing actually some projects that were in the development field for the government. Did one marine base, creating actually submarine stations. That was pretty cool. They had pumps that could pump 1 million gallons of water a minute. Uh, Ended up doing big developments, and that's where I went broke the first time. Was I was doing a 472 house subdivision, from knocking the trees down to turning over the keys. Uh, wasn't real selective in the partners I had, and they ended up squeezing me out. Cost me right at $41 million, and that created a cascade effect that went broke. The now ex, this was in 2007, 2008, said, well, there ain't enough money for both of us, so I'm going to take what's left and you can pack your bags. So that's pretty much what I did. There's kids and grandkids involved. I wasn't going to start an argument, and I was cocky and proud and said, I can build this back again easy. Won't be any problems. Was homeless for about a year, brain messed up and all, and basically couch surfed, which is euphemism for staying with various friends because I didn't have the money to get a place of my own. Started back into real estate and was doing the exact same strategies that made me the money the first time around and couldn't go anywhere. It was like beating my head against the wall. That's when I realized that the most important real estate you can develop is that 6 inches between your ears, because if that space isn't straight, none of the other strategies you try will work. So I met he's now a good friend of mine as well, but a friend and mentor, Dr. Alok Trivedi, helped literally rewire my brain to where I could move forward. And it was the traumas and stuff from the past, even going way further back, all the way to age 6. I was making decisions that I thought was free will as a mid-50s-year-old, mature decisions. And realistically, it was a pattern that a 6-year-old. So I was making decisions from patterns from a 6-year-old brain versus what I thought was conscious decisions of my own choice. Long story short, he literally rewired my brain, and I went from being worth negative $50,000 at that point in time, 2.5 years ago, to where you heard my holdings, but my net worth is now about $1.1 million.
Wow, congratulations. That's awesome. And like you said, that the mindset aspect of everything is so important. And I've done numerous podcasts on that. It really is interesting. And the cool thing is with this, there's going to be a second part to this interview, and we're going to really dive into that so we can really focus on that, because I'm sure a lot of people are interested in how that works. So people should stay tuned for that second part. We'll really dive into that. But give us an idea when you restarted, without maybe talking too much about the mindset, save that for the second part. But in terms of the real estate stuff, when you started back up again and you were getting your mindset stuff, you were just focused on fix and flips. How did you kind of get yourself out of that hole? Because there might be some people here now thinking, I can never invest in real estate. I can never do this because I don't have the money. I don't have this, that, or the other. But, as you explained, you were couch surfing, you were negative $50,000 in cash, and now you've built yourself up to where you are today. What kind of strategies were you employing? What kind of stuff were you doing at that time to get yourself back on the feet, to get the ball rolling again with real estate?
Well, I was using multiple strategies. One was owner financing. I'm fortunate that I had the experience, so pretty much everybody knew me already. But even if they don't know you, the main thing is certainty, making sure you've got certainty in yourself that you can do it, having the confidence to do it. And then you may have to go through a bunch of people to get there, but you can find somebody that is not wanting their property to the point where they will owner finance it for you. If you can't do that, then you bring in partners. You can do partners, either equity or debt. And just to explain that, equity means that you don't have an obligation to pay. They own part of the project, and it's going to vary depending on what you can negotiate. And then when you sell the property, you split the profits based on the percentage that y'all have agreed to. And usually that's done either as you create an LLC with the members in it, or you can do a joint venture agreement to have both parties involved in the agreement. And then debt, of course, is the same as a bank debt. You go to a bank and ask for money, but if you're worth negative 50,000 and your credit score is 553, good luck with the bank. But you can find partners that are willing to work with you on that. You're going to pay more interest, but focus on what you're going to lose if you don't get that versus the cost of the debt. Because, so for example, let's say that you can make $50,000 on this fix and flip, and you're trying to get bank financing at 5 or 6%, and you're reluctant to do private money at 12%. Well, look at it this way. If you don't take the private money at 12%, you're not going to make 50,000, which you'll chill a little bit into that. Let's say you only make 40,000, but 40,000 better than zero, because if you stay hard headed and don't accept something, you're not going to move.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point, is that people get caught up in the interest rate. What is the interest rate? Maybe focus more on what the end is, right? What is the what kind of goal, what kind of returns are you going to make at the end? And don't worry about the 10, 12%. If you can afford to eat that while you're holding the property, if you're making, like you said, 40,000 at the end, it doesn't matter if it's 10, 20, 30%, right? It's more about the type of return you get. And I think people get caught up in that. If it makes sense, it makes sense. So I think that's such a good point. And another great point is that you put up is that, partnering is such a great thing for someone who, people think that, okay, they can't get a loan, or they don't have the money, or they don't have the track record, or whatever it is, right? You can partner to fill in whatever gap you need, right? So if you need to get a loan, you can get a loan for whatever reason. Maybe you have the capital to invest, but you can't get a loan to do a fix and flip. Well, partner with someone that can, and give them a percentage of that deal. Because again, it comes down to, would you rather give up a percentage of something, or try and keep all of it, all of nothing, right? If you have nothing to get for yourself, what does it matter? So people shouldn't get caught up on I think, on giving percentages away when they partner. Because if you could, again, comes to that, if you can make a good return, if you can meet your goals of what you're looking for, what does it matter what you give away? And I think people get caught up in that sometimes as well.
Most definitely. And like I alluded to it earlier, was not what is it going to cost you, but what are you going to lose? But a better way of looking at things, and I look at everything, I mean, literally everything. I don't look at it as a cost. I look at it as an investment. What is the return on investment on, if I spend this money here, what is my ROI? If my ROI is good enough on it, then I spend the money. If it's not, I don't. Like marketing, for example. Most people look at marketing as a cost. Marketing is not an expense. If you do your marketing right, even if you do it wrong, there is a return on it. You just have to maximize your return on investment. That's why you continuously tweak your marketing. But most companies look at marketing as an expense. Marketing is an investment. Facebook ads, for example. If I spend $1, I'm going to get $2 back. Now, if I spend $1 on Facebook ad, is that a cost or is that an investment? I already know I'm going to get $2 back. I'd say that's a pretty good investment. I want to spend as much money on Facebook marketing as I can, because I'm going to get a return on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's just understanding what the return is. And it just makes it clearer. It makes a decision a lot easier than when you know what the return is. Is this a good return? Is this a bad return? Okay, if it's a bad return, probably not going to do it. If it's a good return, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So that's really cool. So you when you said you got yourself back on your feet, you're using these strategies, owner financing, partnering with people. Where did that go from there? Where did you then go into some development from there? What did you do, fix and flips, and then go into development? Where did your career go from there?
Yeah, we basically started back into development. Our first development was actually a fairly small development. It was about a $1.2 million development. We picked up a parcel of land on a tributary of the Little Lagoon in Gulf Shores, Alabama. It was called Paradise Palms. And it was 4 beach cottages. And basically a beach cottage is like it's not a condo. It's taking advantage of the subdivision regulations and what's called zero lot line setbacks, meaning that you can build them literally side by side with minimal separation between buildings. So you do still have a standalone house, but you can put them on a much smaller property. So we built 4 beach cottages with a shared pool and a dock and covered area and boat slips, and then sold those for a little over 350,000 on average.
Oh wow, very cool. So yeah, maybe that sounds like a really cool project. So talk us a little bit about that. So how does something about that come around? You see the land and you can envision it, or someone else has the land and they sell it to you and they sell the project to you, and then you kind of go from there. How does something like that come about?
Well, as a developer, you can buy parcels, raw land with no idea of what can go on it. And then that's strictly zoning and building codes and site codes as far as what are the setbacks, front, back, and sides, and what is the zoning, what is allowed there, and then what can fit there. And that is one of my strengths, is being able to visualize a final project. I can walk on a piece of dirt that is overgrown, ragged, and looks like it's worth nothing, and can visualize what the final project would be there. But if you're just starting out in development, you can go to somebody that has gotten the entitlements. They've gone through planning and zoning, they've gone through whatever governing body, whether it's the city council or the county commissioners, if it's in a county, whatever the government body is, and they've gotten entitlements, they've got an approved project, and then you can buy that project and build it out. It's just, I love the creative part of it and getting it to that point. So I don't buy too many already approved projects.
And then on this project, you're the one, you did everything on this, or were you just, what was your role in this? You did everything soup to nuts, or you had a specific role in this project?
No, me and one partner, we developed this one from beginning. We basically bought the lot, and it was zoned BT3, which allowed this beach cottage subdivision. It also, we could have built a 9-unit condominium on the property. However, there was a couple of reasons we didn't do that. Number one, condominiums are a whole different code, and condominiums at that point in time weren't as hot as the beach cottages were. That's another key component of being a good developer, is looking out far enough ahead to when you're going to be complete with the project and trying to sell it, what is going to be the highest demand. And we determined that that was going to be the beach cottages versus condos, because condos were way oversupplied and hard to sell. The beach cottage subdivisions were selling pretty much the minute that they went up. And literally our first one, when we finished it, was sold within a week.
Wow. That's cool. Sounds like a cool project. That sounds like it must be fun to see something from, like you said, from dirt to the finished product. It must give you a lot of satisfaction to see that that evolution.
It's very rewarding and fulfilling. That I have two things I love to do. I love developing real estate, and I love developing entrepreneurs' minds, because seeing and knowing what that land was before you started, and then walking on the finished project and seeing what that is, and that you had a impact on that. And then the same thing with entrepreneurs, knowing where they were at when you started, and then where they get to after you've worked with them for a while. It's a very rewarding, fulfilling life. I tell people I don't work a day in my life, because I love doing what I do.
That's very cool. You off air, we talked about some of the projects that you're currently working on, right? You want to tell us a little bit about it, because there's some cool projects that you're working on right now.
Definitely. Well, we don't have very exciting ones that we're developing currently. They're just standard run of the mill, like 15 waterfront single family homes. We took a parcel of land, we're splitting it into 15 lots and building waterfront single family homes. These will be vacation rental or even second homes for people, which, if you really want to, if you're not interested in developing, I'd highly suggest that you investigate vacation rental properties, because it's very high cash flow, and you make good money in a short amount of time. But 15 lots, single family, basically it'll be about $1.2 million a piece. We've got 15 lots and 19 reservations. So I don't think you're going to manage to call me and get any of those in. Then we are building one more buy and hold for ourselves, that we've got a Gulf front duplex that we're building. It's going to be a big duplex, either 6 or 8 bedrooms either side, and that will generate between $360,000 and $500,000 a year gross, and it'll net between $240,000 and $360,000 on that. And we're putting that in our long-term portfolio, but we're developing that from the ground up. Right now it's a bare lot. We're in the process of getting entitlements for that. And then we are developing one small commercial center that will be a fourplex for retail local businesses. But I'm really excited about some of the projects that I'm doing for my clients. I've got a client in South Carolina that is building a travel center and a dual brand hotel that the money's great, but it's more about her mission and what she's doing with her mission and how this project's going to further her mission, because she's doing some amazing things with single mothers and their kids. So I'm really looking forward to the impact that project's going to help her mission. Then I've got a project client in California that we're building condos on one part of the property. We're building a big assisted living facility on another part of the project. It's going to be probably about 63 units, but we're also going to have a memory care facility as well, because I've had a lot of friends that have had early onset dementia and Alzheimer's, and just knowing where they were at to where they get to where, I mean, literally they'll be talking to you and then 5 minutes later ask you the same question. That's heartbreaking to witness that when you know where they were at in the past. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the memory care does to impact people as well. Then I've got a client in Montana. We're building camping cabins for people to be able to enjoy one of the national parks in the wilderness area, the hiking trails, things like that in Kalispell, Montana. I've got another impact project that I love. I've got a lady in Colorado that wanted to build an equine rescue center. Well, she ended up finding a big enough parcel that we're going to create an equestrian subdivision to where she can sell out those lots, create an HOA to where they still have access to the pastures for the rescue center and the arena and stalls, or the parcels are big enough that they can build their own arenas. And then she gets to do her horse rescue with basically a zero cost basis for the initial cost outlay. It's just operating cost after that. That's a much easier hurdle to get her started. So I'm really looking forward to getting that project off the ground, because I do love horses as well. Now, on a side note of that, I was raised on a ranch. I still love horses. The only cow I want to see is on my plate. If it's on the hoof, you have to deal with it.
But you were talking about this before, and I thought it was so cool, the impact projects, the idea of not only investing in real estate, but having it have an impact, right? Having a charitable cause behind it, doing some good in the world as well. And I love the idea as well of that you can do both, right? You can use the benefits of real estate to bring on investors and give them a good return, but at the same time, use that money to develop this land to do good in the world. And I love that idea. I think it's such a great idea. And I think, hopefully there's more and more of it that comes along.
Well, I'm part of a group that we call it impact investing. I'm part of a group, and we do regular investments as well, because the regular investments give us more money to be able to have an impact. But we focus heavily on impact projects to where we can have an impact and make money at the same time. Because let's face it, most people love giving to charities. However, if somebody comes to you the first time, you give them a check, then the second time you like, well, I'm really not sure I want to, but you give a little bit, but not as much. But by the time they come around the third or fourth time, you're like, really, they need to take my name out of their Rolodex. Versus impact investing, we want more and more of them, because we are getting to make that charitable donation, but it's not coming directly out of our pocket. We're getting to make that impact, but then we're still making a return on that money that we've put into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really, really cool. I like that a lot. Well, Joe, thank you so much for sharing your story, man. This is so interesting. You've done a lot, right, in your 30 years and learned a lot, and your wealth of knowledge, and there's so much more that I could have asked you. So I appreciate you sharing all those cool stuff that you've had going on. But are you ready for the knockout round? I believe
Most
you
definitely.
are.
What you got?
So what would your wrestling name be?
Well, I think Cowboy Joe's pretty cool, and I already go by that. But another one would be Crazy Indian, but it would be KRZNDN.
Okay.
Because actually I am both. I'm part Indian, and there are people that would label me as crazy, but I'd ask them what is crazy, because I don't know what normal is.
Right, crazy is only where your base level is, right? So it's depending where you're coming from. So I like both of those. So Every wrestler has a special move. What is your special move in real estate?
In real estate, my two strength moves are, like I said earlier, is I can walk onto a property and I can visualize the end result in my brain. I mean, I can literally close my eyes and do a 3D 360-degree full color view of what I know I want to put on that property. And then my other move is the capital structure. I build the foundation. Every project, every investment you ever do on a stable cash flowing asset, the critical factor, your foundation, is the capital structure around that investment. You can take two people or two different 100 unit apartment buildings side by side. One investor can buy it and put the wrong capital structure on it. The other investor can buy the other one and put the right capital structure around it. In 2 to 3 years, the one that did the wrong capital structure will have lost it. In fact, the one that did the right one probably bought it from him. And the one that did the right capital structure is still running smoothly and acquiring more properties.
Very cool, very cool. What's been the biggest body slam you've taken in real estate?
Whoa, biggest body slam I took was, I've taken a couple of smaller ones, but the biggest one was that 472 house subdivision. Cost me $41 million. And that's actual direct cost. It cost me more than that because that was a cascade effect. I didn't have enough reserves to handle that and lost numerous other things. All total, that body slam probably cost me $98 million. And then, like I said, about a year and a half worth of trying to get my brain back straight after that.
Yeah, yeah. So was there a moment that you were standing on the top rope, getting ready to jump, but you were too scared? What was it and how did you overcome it?
Wow. I think everybody has many top rope moments. I think my latest top rope moment was that first development, the 4 beach cottages, because, and as far as scared, that's, well, my last development, I went broke. Well, I'm broke now, but I'll be even broker if this doesn't work. I won't be able to do anything. And what most people don't realize, is one thing I've learned is on fear. Fear boils down to one of two things. Fear is either the fear of gaining something you resent or the fear of losing something you're addicted to. And when you evaluate both sides and realize that there's both sides to everything that you do, then you can dissolve that fear and make a decision and move. And that's basically what I did.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing all that, man. And thanks for coming on the show. Like I said, we've got a part 2 coming up. Excited to dive into that, where we're going to really dive into the mindset aspect of stuff. But before we go, if people want to reach out to you, if people want to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
The easiest way to get me is my website, cowboyjoe.me. There's a bunch of information about me, different courses, things like that. And there's also a Schedule 101 because I do a 20-minute one-on-one call, Zoom call with people that are interested in being in my world, either on the group coaching side, or if you want one-on-one coaching, if you've got specific project already in mind, then I do one-on-one high-level mentoring as well. So just cowboyjoe.me will give you a ton of information about me and give you access to scheduling a call with me.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Joe. Excited for part 2. I'll speak to you soon.
Looking forward to it.